Welcome back to Sports Call on Tiger 95.9. Ryan Lavoie, Jack Myrick. We are at SEC Media Days 2026 here in Tampa, Florida. And we are now pleased to be joined by Allie Peak. She does a peek at Florida football. Allie, the time is greatly appreciated. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I don't know about you guys. I'm exhausted. This has been a week.
It has been. And, again, they did at the SEC this year no favors for those trying to get out of town early when you put Lane Kiffin in the morning on Thursday and you put Texas in the afternoon. So they said, no, you're going to stay here for all 4 days this week.
So I heard a rumor. I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard a rumor the city of Tampa wanted it designed that way and that they, basically the host city kind of has a little bit of a say in how it's spread out. And most cities want it front-loaded so that they only have to do a couple of events at night.
Sure.
But Tampa wanted it to stretch out the whole way, which kind of makes sense if you look at what the lineup is.
That's fair. I mean, again, we've been going to these for about 8 years now. We can tell you that doing a drive time Thursday afternoon show is usually pretty much a wasteland at that point.
Right.
But not this year. All right, Allie, so let's talk a little bit about the Gators first, because Auburn and Florida week 3, we're going to get your thoughts on those games, on that game in a moment. But Jon Sumrall coming in, it seems like the Florida crowd really, really excited about Jon Sumrall. What has been your kind of sense of the temperature of the program as it goes into the first season with Coach Sumrall?
It was a really crazy roller coaster, I think, for December and into January for Gator fans. We really got all in on the Lane train. I literally have a shirt at home somebody sent me that says the Lane train. We were convinced that he was coming to Gainesville. And a lot of, the sources that many of us use that are accurate on a regular basis ended up not being accurate. Truly, and maybe we've been joking all week, they were accurate at the time. Lane just changes his mind a lot. But so it was interesting because we thought we were all in on him. We thought we were getting him. And then when it became clear we were not, and the Jon Sumrall smoke heated up a little bit, I think Gator fans were a little bit disappointed. They felt like we were getting another G5 guy from the state of Louisiana, and almost that Florida had mailed it in after the Lane search didn't go the way that they wanted it to. And I think it took all of one press conference for the Gator faithful to completely change their tune on that. He came out and said things fans want to hear. This is a really proud fan base. And so I think when you come across I'm grateful to be here as opposed to you should be grateful that I am here, I think that really strikes the right chord with our fan base. And he talked about wanting to score a lot of points, which is also something Gator fans are very excited about. So he's won the offseason in my mind, but now he's got to win games.
Speaking of the good thing is it's not live.
Yeah, you're not live.
Let's see. Which mic number are you on? Is that not turned on? Oh, it was that one. That's what it was. Okay.
You're at work.
Thanks. We'll just have to cut, obviously, that part. Okay.
Speaking of games, though, week 3,
Yeah.
Auburn versus Florida. But that's a rivalry that hasn't really seen much action in a while. Since 2019 is the last game. It was in the swamp. Bo Nix was the quarterback at Auburn. That shows you how long ago that was. But just speaking to that rivalry, what, do Gator fans think of it?
Okay, well, first of all, I will tell you that this rivalry gives PTSD in my house. My husband was the punter on the 2006 National Championship team, and the only punt of his entire career, started every game of 4 years, was at Jordan-Hare Stadium, Auburn at night. Florida lost that game, the only loss of the 06 season. So I personally am already needing to start the therapy for going back to Jordan-Hare. But it's a rivalry that we should be playing more. I wish we did. I don't love us going to 9 games, but I do love the idea of games like Florida and Auburn happening on a more regular basis. I don't really love that it happens week 3. I think that Florida gets 2 cupcakes to open the season, which maybe that's good for working the kinks out, but your first real test is on the road at a place that I swear y'all do voodoo. So I don't love that.
So, Allie, with playing every other year now, is that enough to rekindle a rivalry like this, or is it something that feels like it's got to be done year in, year out?
So I think ideally rivalries are year in and year out, but sometimes maybe absence makes the heart grow fonder. I think games ending up in quirky ways or being really close or somebody feeling like they were wronged kind of adds to that, especially when we go such long stretches without playing each other. But I definitely think it's a rivalry we could rekindle.
So looking at Florida's roster a little bit, Aaron Philo comes in at the quarterback position. We know what a monster Jaden Baugh can be. Just, do you feel the offense ahead of the defense in 2026, or where would you kind of handicap
Well,
those two?
we don't know that Aaron Philo will be the starter. I think that's the assumption from, especially outside looking in, if you got a guy that comes over from Georgia Tech to Florida, follows his offensive coordinator. I can follow the line there. Tramel Jones has been neck and neck with him. I personally thought he did a clip better in the spring game than Aaron Philo did, but Jon Sumrall made it clear. We got to meet with him yesterday morning, just kind of in a little room, and he made it clear he counts them both as a starter at this moment, and he's not ready to make a decision, and he said he may not be ready to make the decision when the season starts. And for Florida, I looked back. It has been since 2009, Florida's had 3 seasons where the same quarterback started and ended the year. So I think there's a great chance you see both. I don't know if I think the offense is ahead of the defense. I think the offense has gotten more attention. I think Florida's wide receiver room is one of the best in the country. It's incredibly deep. I think Jaden Baugh is incredible. The O-line is the question mark, though. We have 4 transfer players that came in. We have a couple guys that were on this line that were experienced, but also we won 4 games, so is all experience good experience? I don't know. We do have Phil Troutwine came in as an offensive line coach. He was on the 06 and 08 national championship teams for Florida. He understands what the standard is here, and hopefully he can get that unit to gel. But if it doesn't, I don't know that it matters that you have a wealth of skill players. And I think the defense may just be quieter. So I don't know that it's a clip behind the offense. I just think we might just not be hearing enough about it.
Obviously, yesterday, the big clip that came out yesterday for Jon Sumrall was the phone going off.
Yes.
But besides that, what else stood out to you from his opening press conference?
Well, I really enjoy Jon Sumrall. He has been incredible to the media for Florida, and he just is so real. You have a conversation with him when you see him in the hall, or you have a conversation with him when he's meeting with the media, or you run into him at a restaurant, and you're getting the same guy every single time. And I think that that's kind of unique. And you guys know you deal with coaches and media personalities and different things all the time. And, the things that stood out to me, though, I think he knows his team has a while to go before it could be competitive in this league. And I don't think he minces words with that. I think he's fun, and I think he jokes around. I was honestly floored. I don't know if you guys were in there when it actually happened or not, but I was floored that people took it negatively or were so thinking that he was being mean. He's been serious maybe 10% of the time that I've ever heard him speak. That's just not who he is. And so I did find that interesting. But everybody loved our head coach the last 4 years and kept saying how nice of a person he was. And they really cared about him. And so maybe it's great if everybody could start hating us because it didn't work out when they liked us.
He certainly had an intense aura about him
Yeah.
when he was in the media area. So one of the things I'm curious about, Allie, is with the Florida-Georgia rivalry, we've heard that, again, the next couple of years as there's renovations in Jacksonville, it's going to move around a little bit. It's traditionally been this beautiful neutral site game. What is the pulse of Gator Nation when it comes to the idea of it one day maybe being on Florida and Georgia's campuses rather than a neutral site?
Well, first of all, I think it was a missed opportunity to not play them on our campuses for these next 2 years. It'll be in Atlanta and Orlando, and maybe it's Orlando and Tampa. I think it's Tampa, actually. That's a missed opportunity, in my opinion. We should get once a generation to get to see this storied rivalry take place on our campuses. But I think part of its lure is that it's a neutral site. Jacksonville, if you've never been to the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, put it on your bucket list. RVs are coming into town on Wednesday. The RV city that gets set up is wild. Tailgating is so fun. And when you look at that stadium, exactly down the middle, through the middle of the end zones, one half is red and black, one half is orange and blue. It is the coolest thing. It's going to start out at 90 degrees at kickoff. It's going to be 65 by the time the game ends. It's windy, crazy things happen. But part of what makes it special is where it's held.
We've been talking all week long because we've got all these new SEC coaches in the league, and 2 years ago it was 0. This year it's 6. And with the expectations of Alex Golesh at Auburn, what they should be in year 1, year 2, year 3, and it's hard to be linear, I guess, in the transfer portal world. But what kind of expectations is there, sort of a timeline for Jon Sumrall with Florida?
I think Sumrall needs to win 8 games this year. He's not getting fired no matter how many games he wins, so I don't want that's not what I'm saying. But I think the Florida faithful would be really happy with 8 wins, but more than a finite number, I think it's how you win. Florida, for a very long time, beat the teams that they should beat always, and that has not been the case the last few years. And, we lost a 32-year streak to Kentucky, and now it's kind of touch and go every time we play them, and that shouldn't be. Florida has a losing record against Missouri right now all time, and that's not something that should be. So I think beating the teams you should beat is step one, and then that leaves room. Are you competitive in the ones where the team you're playing is higher ranked or has statistically a better roster than you? I think he gets a little bit more leeway there, but it's how you win even more than how many you win.
Last year, another game that was lost was South Florida. Mm-hmm. What was the consensus, I guess, after that game, and then what was your thoughts on Byron Brown as a quarterback?
So I think Florida came up with so many unique ways to lose that ball game. It was, and truly, that was probably a fireable offense the moment that it happened. And I don't want to take anything away from USF or Golish, but Florida shot themselves in the foot 37 times. That was like we joke that it's clutching victory from the jaws of defeat. Well, it's the opposite in Gainesville. They were clutching defeat from the jaws of victory. It was horrible. But I think that Byron is a great quarterback. I think he has SEC ability. I'm interested to see what he does with more talent around him. Again, not to take away from USF, but it's not the same in the SEC as it is in the American. And he I think with a defense that's really good too, that's going to give him some more opportunities as well. He's not trying to play hero ball quite as much as he was having to at USF. So I think he's going to do incredibly well in our league.
I guess it's kind of hard to quantify sometimes because you've got all these rosters moving from all over the place, and there's this still sentiment that group of 5 or group of 6 is not going to translate to Power 4, but we've kind of seen that some of these quarterbacks of recent success, the Trinidad Chamblises of the world, can do that, whereas maybe the lines of scrimmage are a little bit tougher to formulate out of the portal and coming from smaller conference football. Is that kind of how you see it, or is there a kind of a secret sauce to what you're doing portal-wise that can make up for some of these guys having to come from the lower levels of college football?
I covered recruiting when, the very beginning of my career, and I always think about how there's so much talent that goes undiscovered in high school ball. And we're getting better at it because social media is 24/7, but so much of it is like, do you have access to a camp and then you get noticed? And then, so I totally get how talent flies under the radar. And so I don't think just because you ended up in a group of 5 school that you don't have the talent to play in the Power 4. I think sometimes you didn't get the right opportunity to be platformed. And then same thing with offensive linemen. And again, we're a lot better at it now than we were maybe 10 years ago. But in many high schools, offensive linemen are the biggest, fattest guy you stick on the line, and there's not a whole lot of development that has gone on in a high school program. And so I think offensive linemen are kind of a crapshoot no matter where you are. And obviously you've got your 5-star guys who went to a trainer, since they were in 6th grade, and they're completely technically sound, but that's not the vast majority that you find in college football. So I can see the value in hey, this guy's already been coached on a college level, and maybe it's not Power 4, but he knows what he's doing way more than this raw piece of clay that I'm plucking out of high school. And so I do think that can translate.
She is Allie Peak, a peek inside Florida football, joining us today. Allie, we certainly appreciate the time, and we look forward to that big matchup in Jordan-Hare Stadium week number 3.
I'm excited.
That is Allie Peak with us today on Sports Call.